Okay, I'm here with Koa Windsong in these beautiful little valley. We've been out all day today learning about native bush food. And if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, Koa.
Yeah, well, basically, I've been living close to nature most of my life. I was raised under the guidance of a Native American grandmother who taught me there is no separation between the spiritual world and the physical world. So when we were doing our laundry, we were having fun. When we were gardening, we were having fun. Everything we did was having fun. And I've continued living my life like that right on through. I raised 3 kids like this. That's where I find most of my joy in the simplicity of life.
And what about basically out here in the bush as far as like food's concerned in Australia? Like most people think Australia is quite barren and there's not much to eat, but you know, you've shown us today that there's lots of food.
Yeah, I've shown you that the whole earth is a garden. You can't take a step in any direction without seeing something you can eat. This side of the Great Divide, once you get out in the really extreme dry, then you better know what you're doing, because there's just not that many plants. But this side of the Great Divide, it's a paradise. Everywhere you go, there's food. It'd be impossible to starve if you knew the information I gave you today.
It's pretty much true that most people wouldn't know. I mean, you know, there's so many plants out there, and some of them are hard to tell the difference. I mean, it is, you know, from what we can see, definitely worth doing, you know, a short course with someone like yourself to learn.
Yes, absolutely. In these times, you know, you never know. There's a list this long of scenarios that could change all of our lives forever. And if you have this basic survival information, then yeah, you're not as anxious. You know, like if there's no food in the shops, you can just go bush and realize that all the food is there. Especially if you have children, you know. I think it's our duty of care, actually, for every citizen, every person on this earth, to know their environment, know what they can eat, know how to make an emergency shelter, and so on. Because someday it's going to crash. We all know that. It's not sustainable. That's the bottom line. when something's not sustainable, that means it's going to end. And history repeats itself. Like last time the economy collapsed, 90% of the people lived in the bush, and they had a bit of bush tucker knowledge. They could go around and supplement their gardens with wild foods. But now we got 10% of the people that live in the bush, and those 10% don't know the wild foods, they don't have gardens, and they don't have food storage. So when the economy collapses this time, it's going to be really intense. And if you have this knowledge, you're going to be a lot better off.
I mean, it sounds easy by saying there's a lot of food around you, but you know, you've clearly pointed out today that there are a lot of poisonous plants too that you have to be very careful of, and that's why the knowledge is important.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you can find a teacher that you can trust, like a book is one way to get started, but even in books they give you misinformation because somebody's heard something's edible but they didn't actually go try it, and then they pass that knowledge on. So it's crucial, really, to try to find a teacher that can actually show you hands-on.
That's a good point. And as far as the Native American Indian side, do you have much knowledge about like Hopi Indian prophecy and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I went to see the Hopis just before I came to Australia 13 years ago.
Yeah.
So I asked them about the 2012 date. And yeah, they basically told me our solar system's a disk, and it's inside of a huge disk called the Milky Way, and on that day they line up. And that means it's the end of a 260,000-year cycle. They've just been keeping track of all the cycles and the patterns in nature and watching the stars. And they know it's going to be a big shift. And also there's only 7 Hopis left.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not a Hopi unless you're planting the corn.
Mm-hmm.
And living a traditional way. If you're wearing a cowboy hat and playing pool and driving around in a 4-wheel drive, you're not Hopi.
Mm-hmm.
So there's only 7 of them left, and that's in their prophecies. When they get down to the 7 elders, that means life as we know it on Earth is about to change, shift in a big way.
And part of their prophecy was they were saying that, you know, that America would come and go, and there's a lot of like the elders saying that, and you know, we can see now with the global economic crash that we really are on the verge of something, you know, bad happening. Yeah,
you could look at it that way. I mean, but I look at it as just a shift, and I'm actually looking forward to it. In Native America, and I've come to believe this, there is no death. So all the people that leave their bodies, they'll be reborn in the children that survive. Because we're all one spirit.
That's a good point, eh? All eternal spirits
Yeah,
having
well,
our own journey on the world.
Yeah, well, some people tell me I'm on a doomsday scenario thing. But if you look at the world right now, like right now as we're talking, there is so much pain and suffering going on.
Mm.
It's incredible. I mean, half the world lives in refugee camps where there's no trees, no nature.
No clean
That's
water.
not living. So something's got to change. Something's got to shift. And if they have to leave their bodies and come back in a new body, well, so be it. That's the way it is.
Well, they say, change is for the better, and hopefully it will be for the better.
Yeah, I think it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the future, really.
Well, I mean, we're a bunch of city slickers. Nigel and myself have been living in Hong Kong for 6.5, 7 years, and, we've sort of felt the calling to come out here and start to learn this stuff. And, I think anyone else that's like-minded should do the same. And, I'm going to have Koa's contact details at the bottom of this video, so you can get in touch with him. And I highly recommend you make contact and come out and learn what you can.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Koa.